Hi, my name is Jerome Ortega. I've been with Hardlens Media for about 2 years now, and I'll be honest, I'm still learning a lot about politics. I have questions, and who better than my team to help me out answer them? This is Understanding Politics with Jerome Ortega.
Okay, so today I want to continue talking about this stimulus package because it affects a huge chunk of us, especially a lot of us who just are going to have a really hard time now trying to get by. But I kind of want to start at the beginning here, and I want to talk about Steve Mnuchin, who is I don't know his exact position, the Secretary Treasury, right? What does that position actually involve, and what does he do for, I guess, our country? Because I want to kind of get into the stimulus package and how he's, I guess, in the future going to be overseeing this $500 or $500 billion quote slush fund is what they're calling it, which I'm guessing is probably what that's going to be. But I want to learn first what his role actually is and how that role is supposed to be played out in the government. And I don't know if you guys know anything of if he's already abused his power. I'm assuming he has, but I would like to learn about that because I know really nothing about him. I just hear his name a lot now because of the stimulus package.
So
Dan, go ahead.
effectively, it's what he does is very similar to if he was a corporation, he would be the CFO, the chief
Mhm.
financial operator. He's basically the comptroller. He gets to basically figure out how to spend the money, what the optimal flow is, where money should go. It's basically just a finance person. Now
Okay.
the problem is with him is, well, he's very rich. Can't go into a lot more of his background, but he's very rich. He has a very, very clouded history, which is maybe one of the most kind ways I can possibly put it.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
And he is, in a sense, a James Bond villain type figure who got his way into Trump's organization, or well, effectively it is Trump's organization since Trump is president,
Mhm.
and is going to take advantage of every dollar he can to give it to his friends, his allies, and make sure he gets a big kickback from it.
Okay, so let's talk about Steve Mnuchin, right? This is what we're talking about.
Yep, Steve Mnuchin.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Steve Mnuchin. So, first of all, again, he has a long history in finance and banking careers. For example, Goldman Sachs on November 1994 to December 98. I'm just pulling up this short information about him.
Sure.
He was the head of mortgage securities department. December 98 to November 1999, overseeing mortgages, U.S. government's money markets and municipals at a fixed income currency and commodities division. December 1999 to February 2001, member of the executive committee and co-head of technology operations committee. February 2001 to December 2001, executive vice president and co-chief information officer. One hell of a title. Yeah, it's like the head of food and beverage. December 2001 to December 2002, executive vice president, member of the management committee, and chief information officers. And again, he was involved in hedge funds. He was involved in a lot of deals with foreclosures. He also founded Dune Entertainment as a side business. So that's a film production career. He actually held the titles. He also worked alongside notable film companies like 20th Century Fox. He was an executive producer to many videos and movies that a lot of people have seen in the big theater. So yeah,
did he work with Trump before getting elected in here? Do you guys know? I mean, did they have a relation beforehand, or are you guys not sure?
Well, hold on, Steve. Okay, again, like I've always said on the show, all these people in the top 1% are friends with each other. You would think that the Clintons, the great Democratic family, would kind of avoid somebody like Donald Trump, but they were friends with him for a very long time. They already knew about him and his personality, but yet they hung out with him because, remember, Hillary Clinton was at one point a United States senator and Donald Trump was at one point a Democrat. And to quote Donald Trump in the 2016 primary, I know people get tired of me saying this, but he said this during the debate about the Republican candidates: I give these people money and they do what I say. So when Donald Trump was a Democrat, he gave the Democrats money, and they probably, most likely, did what he said too. So they're all connected and they're all friends. Whether or not they actually worked under each other or in direct collaboration, maybe second or third hand accounts, but nonetheless, they all know each other.
And effectively, the way this works, especially the way Trump is doing it, which is very similar to how other presidents, Obama, Bush, etc., have done it as well, is, well, you bet on the right horse during the primary. When that election was happening, you bet on the right horse in the general. You put enough money in, ding, 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 you get a reward, and that reward is this position where you can now be put in positions where you can kind of passively. A lot of what they also have that someone like Mnuchin has that's very important is you have the ear of the president. You're one of his direct advisors, which having the ear of the president is obscenely powerful to have. And then in addition, when you have things like this come along, you get a little extra power to do things. But I think, yeah, Kit's right. I almost don't think it matters. I mean, it does obviously to matter if they work together before. It adds a little bit more color, but it really doesn't change the picture. The picture is this is a business transaction where two people are both getting what they want because of a mutual agreement with each other.
Well, let me kind of go into this a little further, because I did a little reading onto the stimulus package, because obviously it's of interest to me, because yeah, $1,200 is obviously not enough money, but at this point it's going to help me get by for another couple weeks, which is not the best thing to hear, but okay, so 1,200, whatever. And the reason I bring up Steve Mnuchin is because I keep hearing about this $500 or $500 billion slush fund. This $500 billion that's going to be overseen as they see fit, or however, I'm assuming this is just for big corporations, right? And if it is, do you think that this $2 trillion stimulus package, do you think that 500 billion is even needed for this? I mean, I feel like that 500 billion is probably better going to the people so we can keep the economy going, but I don't know how you guys feel about that, or where this money is going to go, or how it's going to be used.
All right, Daniel, you go first, because I'll add in my commentary then.
So effectively, this is a rules for rulers situation. This is, first of all, it's not really in the scheme of what's been spent. It's not that much money. I mean, there's another 4.5 trillion that's connected to this, but really with the money you're talking about, like we just have been spending, the Fed's just been spending $1 trillion a day for a period. They were just for a while spending $100 billion a day. So in the scheme of things, it's 500 billion. Again, that's like still 5 times what Jeff Bezos is worth. I mean, and I don't know exactly what he's worth right now with the stock crash, but that's a lot of money. But in the scheme of the kind of what we're talking about, it also kind of isn't. It's this is more along the lines of, hey, I'm a super wealthy person. I'd like to have a little bit of corruption I can wave around and do things with. And that's kind of what a $500 billion is, because this is like, you get $10 billion, you get $20 billion, you get this. But hey, behind the scenes, I want you to sneak about 5% of your property over to me. And, you can do a lot. You can do a lot with $500 billion.
No, for sure.
Okay, so here's something that we've talked about on the show. And this is going to probably be a funny joke, but nonetheless, these major corporations, you'd think that they would save up during a rainy day like this. You would think these corporations and their CEOs would be extremely responsible in, maintaining their finances. Like how when they talk down to poor people saying, oh, well, you should manage your checking book better. You should manage your banking accounts better. You know what? The average working class family can manage their accounts and their family's household way better than these corporations can in regards to maintaining their finances. They need to be bailed out every single day right now. They need to be kept afloat because of government paychecks. See, these corporations are the true welfare queens. These corporations take our tax dollars and abuse it, and they use it to line up their own pockets, whereas you have working class families all across this country that are struggling. You have African American communities struggling, Latino communities struggling, white communities struggling, Asian communities struggling. You have all these communities all together, Native American communities struggling. And everyone right now is wondering, well, how are we going to keep our house still functioning? How are we going to make sure that the rent's still paid? How are we going to make sure that the bills are still paid? Which medicine do we buy? Do we go a day without food? Do I go a day without food to make sure that my kids are fed? This $1,200, while it is needed, it is not enough.
No,
and it's never enough, especially for a consumer economy. Well, good luck in having the consumers to, consume, which is, I guess, what we're supposed to do when we don't have anything coming to us. So, I mean, are we now devolving into a true oligarchy where the top 1% just then controls everything? And this is just a system of financial feudalism? Because if that's the case, okay, great. But then, I don't want to ever hear the whole story of, well, we got to go to this other foreign country to give them freedom when we don't have freedom, not financial freedom, So this guy, Steve Mnuchin, is just basically made himself an unofficial savior to the wealthy who are basically addicted to a drug called being bailed out.
Yeah, that's a big thing. This is what Obama put in place. This is a lot of reason I had a criticism for Obama. Once I realized what had happened in 2008, he bailed out the banks. He enacted too big to fail, which is exactly what we're dealing with. That if all of a sudden, if Jerome right now, let's say you had a house, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had a car, you had everything that you needed.
Yeah.
And at some point you lost your job because you were stealing from the job.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden Chicago said Jerome's too big to fail. Jerome, whatever money you need to cover the difference, we'll pay you. What does that do to your mentality? It makes you go, oh, if I can't fail, then I'm actually incentivized to take the largest risk possible, because if I win, I get an enormous payout.
Sure.
If I go rob a bank and I know I'm not going to go to jail for it, if I know that if I get it, I get to keep the money, and if I fail, then I'm just going to be bailed out, it makes the entire way you do business change. And since Obama has codified too big to fail, well, that's what we're looking at. We were looking, why did the stock market keep going up? Why did everything? Because everyone kept making bets and bets and bets that the second that they didn't work out in a large enough numbers, the entire system would collapse, because they would expect someone with like Steve Mnuchin to have a money gun ready for them, because too big to fail is a policy. This isn't just Trump. This isn't just Mnuchin. This is cumulative failure and decisions that, again, we here at Hard Lens have been saying for years, hey, it's not the right way to do things. It's not the right way to incentivize. Mm-hmm. But in a lot of ways, Steve Mnuchin isn't anyone special. He's just the standard cookie cutter that we've come to expect.